Hey, welcome everybody. This is the third of three different video tutorials on Polleverywhere.com, an audience response system that allows folks to, primarily the usual way it's used is to vote with your cell phone in a class situation. But we're also going to talk about another option that I mentioned in some of the other ones, just didn't exactly show you how to push the poll out to somebody from who's going to do it maybe outside of class or the web-based version through an email and so forth. And I also want to show you for those people that might be in other programs like science, chemistry, that type of a thing, there's actually some types of question responses that you can put in that I'm going to show you about here that I didn't show you before. So again, you have to have your account, you want to be logged into your account, and then we create a poll. So that's just clicking on this red box over here to the left. And you put in your question. So I said, what chemical formula would make a dilution? And I'm not a chemistry person, so I don't know if I'm getting this question exactly right, but specifically I wanted to show you a particular feature here. If you know how to put some code in for scientific notation, again, I just selected a multiple choice situation here. Now, the answer to this particular question, or what I'm looking for to show you how to do, is water. So I could actually just type in water, but maybe if this was a chemistry class or something like that, you would like to be a little bit more specific. So you can put in a couple of different answers. And if you use the LaTeX, looks like latex paint, but it's pronounced LaTeX command. So it's LaTeX colon, and then you put in your chemical symbol, you see how that's created an H2O, right? So show you again. And we got to put in like an incorrect answer, right? So let's do H underscore 2. And you're using these kind of brackets. So they're kind of next to your P, but they're the shift bracket. And let's throw in something else here. Oops. Okay, so you got an idea. That's all it takes to actually put something in the chemical formula. I'm just going to put something else in here just to fill this up. So we're done. We create our quiz. So again, you see how it shows the particular answer. So if you're somebody who's doing something with chemistry, you could still do a formative assessment using Polleverywhere and kind of put your answers in a format that would make a little bit more sense for you. Okay? All right, so as I've talked before, we know how to get students to respond to this. If they're going to use a mobile phone, they will text to 37607, and then in the subject area or the dialog box area for what the message would be in the text message, whatever one of these answers they want, so if they know that it's H2O, they would just text in 58376 and hit send, and then the results would show up. I did want to talk about one other thing. I've talked about it in some of the other tutorials, but I didn't actually show you how to do it, so I wanted to show you how to do it here. We talk about the idea of being able to text if we're doing this in a classroom environment. The cell phone is the easiest way to do it. I also showed you about editing. In case you're aware that not everybody has a cell phone in class, you want to allow some people to share. You can change this, the number of times that a particular device can respond. It defaults to 1. You can change it to more than 1. And we've talked about that before. Also remember, you can only have 40 people to respond to a poll at the same time. With the free account, it limits you. You can have as many polls as you want, but you can only have 40 devices or 40 responses to one particular poll. So if you have a situation where you have more than 40, it's not a major problem. But what I would do is I would create, what chemical formula would make a dilution A, what chemical formula would make a dilution B, and say, okay, everybody on this half of the class, you do the A poll, everybody on this half of the class do the B poll, and then that way you could have up to 80 responses, so you're good to go. Okay, so we have that set up. Remember I said before, anytime you're going to change something, even though I didn't change anything, in order to get out of here, I'm going to have to hit my save poll again. So here's my poll. And we talked about over here, you can change your settings, you can make this full screen. If I go like this, I have hidden my results. So as the votes come in, all you're going to see is the total results change, but you're not going to see any of these scores here. If you want to have it live, so you have to see the scores as you go. Just set it up like that. So when the answers are all over here, that means this space is to get your bar graphs to come across. Okay, so we talked about the cell phone concept, and you would code that 37607, pick out one of those and text that in, hit send. That particular person's poll response has now been recorded. But what about if you got to do it a different way? Let's say you want to email this particular poll. We talked about how people can respond, and there's a web device way to respond as well too. That's the address. You put this in your URL bar, and so if you're going to have somebody, let's say they're on one of the corporate Baker iPads, and they got that on in class, but they don't have a phone, and maybe based on the number of students, you could not make the devices respond more than one time, right? Because maybe you have 35 people in the class or something like that. Or if you want to get opinion from everybody in class, and say you got 2 or 3 people who weren't in class that day, so they weren't able to vote with their cell phone, you actually can send a link to them. And when we have share and publish, there's a live chart link. I've showed you this in the other one before, but in order to make that work, there's one thing I have to show you about, and I did not show you that before, so that's where I want to point out. So they would go to a URL and type in pollev.com/ this is a /, and then this would be your name. This is another reason why you want to establish an account rather than just create a poll from the front page without having your own account and logging into your account. So they don't have the ability to type this 37607 and all that kind of stuff, because they're going to be doing this kind of in an email. So they would just go to pollev.com / your name, and then they would have access to the poll, and then they would just select. It's kind of like they would use their mouse if they're on a laptop or a desktop at home, or if they were on the iPad, they would just use their finger, and there's going to be a little radio button to the left of all these answer responses. So instead of the numbers over here, there would be a little button, and if I wanted H2O, I would just click in that particular spot. But you got to make it available, so you got to do what's called pushing the poll, right? You may respond when the presenter pushes the poll. So where do you do that? Well, it's this little symbol next to the stop poll over here to the right. It shows a mobile device, and it shows some arrows with some other little kind of device emblems out here, little boxes, and as you can see when I hover over it, it's pushed this poll to my Pollev page. So right now I've created this, and the only way that a student can respond to it, or anybody can respond to it, is with text messaging. However, if I want to make it available to somebody that I know I'm going to have to send them the link in an email, I have to just come over here, and all I have to do is click on this. And notice now it says live at Pollev / Robert Payne, and it's in blue. So if I wanted to make this live for everybody, we're good. If I wanted to remove this, say I'm done with it and I don't want it on my Pollev page anymore, as it says, remove this poll, I just click it and she's gone. Now what I've done is I've reestablished it back so that the only people who can do it is in a text messaging situation. So again, if I want to push it out to somebody who's going to have to access it on the web through an email, you just got to come over here and push that button. So hopefully that gives you the information that you need for those situations and times where you have to do that, and hopefully this has been helpful for you. Thanks.